All right, we back. We back. Sorry. I just I don't often stream on YouTube. I'm in the process of trying to balance and manage all three of them. When I say all three of them, I mean, you know, all three of them, meaning YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok. Because I am fully aware that some people just in general just can't rock with the idea and notion of downloading an app to watch stuff, which is cool. Like, because then I could proc the question of why not? Like, you don't want to support your boy, right? Like, why not? Like, why not? You don't want to support your boy? Like, the concept of just downloading an app to kick it with fam for 20 minutes is too much. It's too much. Like, you know, you could proc that question, or you could make it easier for folks to support you. So that means, you know, do things through YouTube, which everyone has on their phone, right? Do stuff through TikTok, which some people have on their phone, right? So it's all about just dialing in that yeah. It's about dialing in that why is it saying end stream? My stream ain't ending. Why should be getting? Cause you know, but I'm going with the winning. Did you know that I'm in it? I come through because I'm spitting. I don't like what's happening there. Cause you know that I'm getting. So yeah, so we just waiting, man. We just waiting. We waiting. We trying to go live. We trying to go live and the game is hating. 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 It's Reset Tuesday. I don't really know. I'm just trying to get my song. I'm gonna try to what gotta say. So while that's happening, I guess we can talk about how disappointing it is that the Boston Celtics have captured their 18th NBA championship as of late last night. Man. I got nothing. All I know is they were more deserved. Well, I ain't gonna say more deserving, because you could argue they bust ass all season, and as a result of that, got themselves into a position where they could walk through a bunch of injured, low-seeded teams because they took the regular season serious. So, you know, just really good with the parity in the NBA. Like, that's the real question, right? Because when you think about it, when you really think about it, you know, that's 6 different champions in the last 6 years. You know? That's the real Pythagorean theorem of it all. Like, what's really good? Tell me what's good. Tell me what's good. I do what I want. You do what you should. I just want to shoot some enemies, some aliens, some bad guys, some things like that. And I feel like I'm being stopped by forces I can't control at the moment. You know? Like, what do you do when you're trying to be great, but everything around you is making you wait? And you feel like the people in the crowd, they only send hate. And the people in the crowd, man, they only send hate. So I'm trying to dial in. I'm trying to figure out what's going. Like, how do I dial in and get better quality? On YouTube, I thought upping your bit rate would do it, but I'm at 82. I'm at 8200. I'm at 8200. It's feeling like, and my joints looking like mud. My joints looking like mud, baby. In the meantime, it's gacha time. You guys play any gacha games? What's your favorite gacha game? You know, they say gacha's gambling. And it is. Don't try to say it ain't, though. Like, that's the one thing. If you go, and I get it, all right? Like, it's easier to point a finger at people who go to Vegas and drop a car payment or a mortgage payment on slots or cards, thinking that they're going to change their life around. It's easy to point a finger and go, I'm not that. I'm not that. Yeah, but if you drop in $50, $60, $100 every week or two on Honkai Star Rail, you are that. You just ain't that. You're that. You know? You know? It ain't nothing wrong with that. Just be that. Just do it responsibly. All right? Do it responsibly. You know, don't find yourself chasing. All right, we're at the character screen. We're gonna get in this time. Let's see. Let me check out, see what everybody else is doing too. No contacting Destiny servers. No contacting Destiny servers. Let me see. Uh-oh. They gonna kick us out. Lucky 10p is in. If he's gonna be in, why can't I be in? That's just rude. Is it because I'm not important? I'm not as important as them? Is that what it is? I think I'm very important. But I get it if I'm not as important as them. What is this error code chicken? Here are some steps. Let me see who's streaming right now. Just to see if, as long as somebody who is better than me, not better than me. Okay, so CB Gray can't get in either. Cool. I feel better about that. Leopard is in, but that tower's looking mighty empty. Oh, he's on with him, so yeah. I'm gonna interact with one of these dudes. I'm starting to see something too. What's up with that, Bungie? What's up, Bungie? Only Destiny players I see that can't get in right now are the black ones. What's going on with that? Hold on, let me see. Destiny 2. I'm not bugging. I know y'all think I'm bugging. Watch this. Peep game. Right? Peep game. Right? So we got CB Gray, right? He can't get in. He been trying to log in. We got Jarv. Okay, but Jarv is also from a different country, so Jarv's trying to get in. G Miners, he's in, right? Look at him, he's in. Is he in? I think he's in, yeah. TDT is in. He don't even got a face. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry, he's waiting. Professional Broman, he's in. Okay, true. Okay, all right, cool. All right, I just had to check. Un momento, por favor. I just had to check to make sure we weren't doing something, you know, we weren't doing something a little crazy. You know? He can't get in. Damn. We all hurting right now. Vegeta plays. I wonder if he actually sounds like Vegeta. Oh, he's watching. He's watching content. Hold up. I'm gonna go up. I'm gonna say, all right, so yeah, we all hurting. We all hurting. We all hurting. That's it. That's it. We all hurting right now. That's cool though. I do though. I need to find a game that when this happens, I can just switch to, you know? I can just switch to, because I be in this scenario often, and I mean, I guess I could use, I would love to say I can use this time to clean out my vault, but I can't even access my vault because Bungie and DM them, you know them. So in this time, I'm gonna keep playing Dokkan Battle. It ain't been this crazy since what? It ain't been this crazy since what? The final shape came out. Say what you will. Say what you will. Say what you will. Say what you will. Handle the deal. I'll come through. Can you handle my skill? Bone handle my bill. So cool. Can't handle the chill. Turn that music up, baby. Turn that music up. Listen, it's B Green. I'm at the top. Went off. Hey. Listen, the last time this happened, I started sending some bars Bungie way, and all of a sudden, hey. So, Pew pew with the pew pew. Hey. Okay. All right, Harris Heller. It's a bop. On a side note, Dokkan Battle 9th anniversary is coming up. What you excited for? Huh? What you excited for? What you waiting for? You got your stones? You got your stones ready? Hope you got your stones ready, cause listen, I'm telling you, better come correct. Better come correct. Wait a minute. Just wish we could play. I just want to play. I mean, I guess I could just do something else, right? But that's whack because I shouldn't have to. Shout out to my cousin Matthew. I wasn't even gonna watch Jarves this week in Destiny because I was just like, let's just play. But I mean, I guess I can watch it this I guess I could. And there's a lot of people. Here we go. 168 ways you might still be playing Destiny 2 wrong. Shout out to Shadow Destiny. Let's watch this and just kick it with this until this game works. Okay. Okay.
You might still be playing Destiny 2 wrong. Today we're going through a bunch of the mistakes that players are making.
So this is 100, what is this? 168 ways. How many y'all think y'all doing wrong? Just how many? Because 168, I'm gonna say myself 29 ways I'm still doing something wrong.
Making so that you can have more fun in Destiny and become a better and more optimized player. First off, we have not matching your damage type when fighting against subjugators. Subjugators are really powerful because they unleash crazy stasis or strand abilities that can freeze or suspend you. However, the abilities make it easy to tell if they are stasis or strand, and then if you hit them with their own damage type, they take massively increased damage, so hit the like button if you didn't know this. If you're ever trying to get somewhere in a hurry and you really want to get there fast, you're not quite being optimal if you simply hold down your vehicle's boost button. Especially when you're on a skimmer vehicle, you will actually go about 30% faster by spamming the boost button repeatedly. Skimmers have no cooldown for doing this, so you can basically just go extra fast for free.
Ding, didn't know that.
By boosting multiple times. The Sparrow energy system was also reworked, so the Sparrow boost spam now provides significantly more of an advantage than it did in the past. It's crazy that we've been encountering Taken enemies for like the past 9 years or something, but many players still don't know about the subtle ways these enemies respond to player behavior. It's very common to make the mistake of aiming down sights at the Taken Scions, and this actually causes them to multiply and spawn in even more Scions. If you simply hipfire instead, they will be far less likely to multiply, and therefore they will be far easier to defeat.
That's 2.
A similar situation also applies to Taken Thrall, because they teleport all over like this when you're aiming, but when firing from the hip, they become much more calm and easy to deal with. Something you might potentially do wrong in the future is spend a lot of money on super expensive earbuds, when instead you could get the same sound quality for half the price with Raycon earbuds, the sponsor of today's video. The new and improved everyday earbuds.
No, he didn't just slide. That was excellent work. Shout out to Ray J. That was excellent work. I like the way he did that. Okay.
Of Radiance for dealing bonus damage, but depending on the situation, it can actually reduce your damage. Well of Radiance will give you a 25% buff, but for whatever reason, this actually does not apply to Golden Gun. Therefore, it is actually best to stand outside of the Well of Radiance instead and use the Radiant buff to get your 25% bonus. If you do happen to go back inside the well, it will actually remove that Radiant buff, and therefore nerf your damage by a massive 25%.
I knew that.
If you're in a dark area, your ghost will often help you out by lighting up objects in front of you, but sometimes, for whatever reason, he just decides to not do this. When he isn't lighting your way, there are certain dark areas where it can be very hard to see and navigate. Instead of getting lost though, you could manually pull out your ghost, but you could also throw a grenade, and funny enough, the flashlight emote will also work to help light up the area. Based on outdated research and a bunch of misconceptions in the community, most players still believe that it's a good idea to make your recoil direction stat end with the number 5. That was kind of true in the past, but nowadays all new weapons come with deterministic recoil, meaning that the pattern of the recoil will be exactly the same every single time. So instead of simply making your recoil number end with a 5, what you actually want to do is use it to make the pattern more vertical. So for example, this pattern just always goes to the left like this, so I should use a recoil direction stat that goes to the opposite direction in order to help compensate. As you can see here, the weapon is now much more vertical overall, and this makes it much easier to control. If you're not visiting this special kiosk and claiming all of this loot,
kind of sort of knew that. I just thought recoil direction was exactly that. I treated it like a clock. So
every episode, you are really missing out. Among other things, there is a grouping of loot called Rahul's Secret Stash that will appear right here once every 4 months. And this will give you some incredible rewards like Ascendant Shards, exotic ciphers, upgrade modules, Ascendant alloys, and awesome cosmetics. This comes as a bonus for annual pass holders who bought the $100 version of the latest Destiny expansion. Unfortunately, these rewards and currencies will expire at the end of every episode and disappear forever. So if you're not claiming them, you're basically just robbing yourself of a bunch of free loot. When you're going into more difficult content, it's definitely a mistake to disregard and not take advantage of the overcharge and surge modifiers that are present right here when you select the activity. These bonuses do not stack together, but still, a 25% free damage boost for simply using a certain type of loadout is an absolutely huge boost that you really should not be missing out on. A lesser known fact is that certain overloads are also present within your artifact. So for example, if you have Overload Sword, it says that swords are always overcharged when the modifier is active. Therefore, if an activity has any type of overcharge and then you also equip your Overload Sword right here, it will give you 25% bonus damage with your sword at all times, which is huge. All of the champion mods also function as overcharge mods too, so everything out of the left column of your artifact will work in exactly the same way. Since we are kind of on this topic already,
yes and no. I knew that, but I didn't.
It's important to note that surges also apply a hidden bonus that buffs your kinetic damage, but most players actually do not know that this is a thing. It isn't mentioned anywhere in the description here, so this often flies under the radar and goes completely unnoticed. Essentially how it works is if the element of your super is matching the element of the surge, all of your kinetic weapons will also get a large 25% buff. This will easily make or break your performance, especially if you're relying on something that is kinetic for your boss damage. So be sure that you either use the correct subclass or simply apply a matching super element within your prismatic loadout. The controller cursor is pretty slow in Destiny, and it does take a couple seconds to move it all the way across your screen and navigate large destinations like the Pale Heart. This can make menu navigation rather cumbersome if you only use the cursor, but thankfully you can also use the bumpers and the D-pad in order to move around the menus much more rapidly like this. Another thing that 82.5% of you are doing wrong is not being subscribed. For real though, I would really appreciate it if you would consider subscribing. I know the Onslaught activity isn't as popular as it once was, but I still see many players making the mistake of drawing the big Tormentor bosses over to their ADU. The Tormentors will exclusively chase after players, so try not to stand near the ADU because this is a great way to get wiped out and sent right back to orbit. Divinity is a popular and sometimes controversial exotic from the Garden of Salvation raid. Some players don't like how mandatory it feels in many raid encounters as it gives a 15% debuff in addition to creating a large crit spot on the boss. When using this exotic though, some people simply hold down the fire button to continuously fire it, but the problem is this uses up the special ammo very quickly. Since the bubble stays up for 1.5 seconds, you can actually just tap the trigger every so often, and the bubble will still never go away. This helps to preserve ammo and minimize how often you need to reload and cause the bubble to drop off. If you just turn in your bounties and challenges without first optimizing your mods, you're really missing out on a lot of free XP gains. The first and most obvious optimization you can do is simply equip the Blinding Light Ghost mod, which will give you a nice 12% buff to your XP. It's not like it's going to double your XP or something, but overall it will definitely help you out and make you unlock those essential season pass levels and artifact perks. This will actually snowball over time as well, because the season pass will provide you with additional XP boosts as you get to the higher levels, so the faster you level it up, the faster you will gain experience in the future. The next thing you can do is also join another player who is hopefully a high level, because their season pass XP boost will also give you a bonus of up to 8%. If you're looking for people to join up on or just play with in general, feel free to join my Discord and our community would be happy to help.
I didn't know that. So that's 4.
Some of us make a habit of visiting Xur every weekend, but if you don't, then now is definitely the time to start. Xur has a system called Strange Favor, where after spending 47 Strange Coins, he gives you access to a buff that gives you a large bonus to your Strange Coin drops for the next 11 days. This buff can also stack, so it is quite important to always visit Xur to get the buff so that you can optimize your Strange Coin farming, save up as many as possible, and then spend them to get Xur's loot and increase your reputation with Xur. From catalysts to exotics to even red border drops, Xur has a lot of value here, so it's definitely worth your time to go get the buff. Another thing I should mention is that you should probably be spending your Strange Coins if you have a lot of them. It seems that they cap out at 99, so if you're getting close to that number, it's probably a good idea to spend them to avoid wasting future drops. If you're using reserve mods on your armor and you just leave them on during your gameplay, you are kind of doing it wrong. Reserve mods let you hold a larger amount of total ammo, and this is great, but you should really be using resist mods instead. This is because you can actually get the benefit of the reserve mods without actually using them during combat. If you simply equip your reserve mods, rally to the flag, and then switch over to your other mods, you will still be able to keep all of that extra ammo from the reserve mods even though they are no longer equipped. This way, you basically get the best of both worlds because you'll be getting the extra ammo and simultaneously the big damage reduction from the resist mods that you're now using. I recommend keeping one extremely bad chest piece that just always has 3 reserve mods on it, and that way it will be extremely fast and easy to just swap over to it for rallying and then swap back to your main chest piece like this. If you notice that you're getting really close to a vendor reset for one of the playlist activities, it is probably best to not go over there and turn in a bunch of engrams. The reason for this is that after you reset the vendors, all of their loot will drop with extra perks from the engrams. Especially if you're able to get extra perks in both of the columns, this is a huge advantage. It will dramatically shorten the amount of rolls you need to get before you find the perk combination that you're looking for. Although there can be an exception, you're probably making a mistake if you're not equipping 3 surge mods on your boots during boss damage phases. When you have armor charge, you can stack up to 3 of these mods to gain 22% bonus damage. If all of your fireteam members are using this during a raid, for example, it's like adding a whole other member to your fireteam and then some. This can easily be the deciding factor between defeating the boss and having to do another rotation. If you don't want to give up some of your other mods, you can do what some players do and have a second pair of boots to swap to just as the damage phase is starting. This is very similar to the reserve mod thing that we discussed earlier, because you will get the best of both worlds and have massive damage in addition to the other benefits provided by the other mods. The Titan Barricades can be an extremely powerful tool for providing both cover and buffs to you and your allies, but using the barricade incorrectly can have some extremely negative consequences. For example, putting it up when you're already low on health and then just dying during the animation is really not ideal, but perhaps the worst possible situation is putting up the barricade and then blocking one of your teammates, as you can see right here. You should simply never put up a towering barricade when surrounded by other players, especially if you're all trying to deal DPS to a boss or a large enemy that's nearby. Whenever I play the survival game mode in PvP, someone always seems to make the following mistake in basically every single match. When the timer counts down and reaches 0, the team with the most lives will win by default, but it seems that many players forget to check how many lives are actually remaining. Many players make the mistake of pushing in when they have the life advantage or simply sitting back passively when they are down on lives. Especially in the latter situation when you're behind on lives, it's absolutely essential to push in aggressively or else you're basically just forfeiting the match and taking an automatic loss. Although it does take just a tiny bit of planning, I've seen that many players do not optimize their bounty and Pathfinder stuff by doing them at the same time. So you may want to double check what objectives you have in order to make sure that you're multitasking whenever possible. For example, it's basically a free bonus if you can stack your 801 bounties with your gunsmith bounties and then also throw in some Pathfinder objectives at the same time to complete everything without any additional effort. Like you might have a hand cannon bounty and also an arc bounty, and then you can simply use an arc hand cannon to progress both of them simultaneously. You could also do something like farming overthrow for the exotic class item, the sword, and the red border.
That's the best way to actually try out things that are sitting in your vault that you might have gotten and you're like, I don't know if this is good or not. I'm gonna just get it and save it, because there's some guns where they only fit certain criteria, you know. Pulse rifle, void, Wow. Sorry, excuse me. Pulse Rifle, Void, and Gambit. And you're like, well, I could use my Smite of Moraine. I don't know. I think that's actually fire. Whatever.
All at the same time while also doing your bounties in the Pathfinder. So to sum it up, you'll just be a lot more efficient if you multitask your farming work within the game. We all use artifact mods, which are great for taking out champions, but you'd be making a mistake by exclusively relying strictly on weapons for all of your stunning. Making use of really easy anti-champion abilities in addition to the weapons will give your loadout much more flexibility, so I highly recommend building into this. For example, the Ember of Torches fragment gives you anti-barrier capabilities because of your melee making you radiant. Harmonic mods are just extremely discounted and cheap versions of regular mods, but sometimes I still see people making the mistake of not actually using these. The harmonic mods do exactly the same thing as regular mods, except their elemental type depends on the element of your super ability. Other than that though, they function exactly the same and they are simply cheaper to use, so be sure to take advantage of these discounts whenever possible. Power leveling is one of those things that's extremely easy and fast if you know what you're doing, but rather painful and slow if you don't. And the following mistake is something that will drastically slow down your progress. Basically, if you're going along with your leveling process and doing your powerful and pinnacle rewards, and then you notice that one of your items is significantly lower than the rest, it is definitely a mistake to continue spamming your powerful reward sources. Instead, what you should try to do is claim a non-powerful reward to increase the power level of that slot, and once you do that, it can often increase your total power level by another point. This, of course, will have the effect of making your next powerful drop be one power level higher than it would have been, and therefore, over time, this kind of snowballs and notably increases the speed that you gain power. When players are new to Destiny, I often see that their loadouts are not the best, and that is totally fine and to be expected. However, I would say that it is a mistake to not spend like 2 minutes setting up an extremely basic build for your Guardian, regardless of how experienced you are within the game. Even if you literally started yesterday, a player who has a basic build will be 5 times stronger than someone who has no build whatsoever. I'm always astonished by how many people are loading into endgame activities with zero synergy in their loadout. So please, even if you're new, just take a few minutes to read your subclass and your exotics and come up with a basic build, because it will help you out more than you can imagine. There are several different mechanics and abilities that cause you to go flying backward in Destiny 2. If you get stomped by a boss, or shiver striked in PvP, or just pushed back by literally anything, you can simply forward melee in order to remove the knockback. Many players don't think to do this, and it often leads to them flying away and potentially falling off the map. So just remember to immediately follow up with a melee, and you won't have to away and potentially falling off the map. So just remember to immediately follow up with a melee, and you won't have to worry about this ever again. Holster mods to immediately this, and it often leads to them flying away to remove the knockback. Many players you can simply forward melee in order to remove the knockback. Many players don't think to do this, and it often leads to them flying away and potentially falling off the map. So just remember to immediately follow up with a melee, and you won't have to worry about this ever again. Holster mods are great for keeping your weapons reloaded at all times, but if you're not using these, be sure to reload your weapons following a damage phase on a boss. I've seen a lot of players who simply use all their heavy, forget to reload, and then by the time the next damage phase rolls around, they waste valuable time by reloading, and thus massively decrease their overall damage. If you're ever using a third party looking for group service, don't just post your join code while in orbit. This will usually lead to like 12 people joining you all at once, and then you will be forced to kick out all of the extra players. So instead of doing this, a helpful tip is to load into a location that limits the number of people in your fire team to prevent too many people from flooding in. Some good places to do this are the Enclave, which is capped at 3, or the Helm, which is capped at 6. There are a lot of mistakes to be made when it comes to reloading, and we'll be covering some more of those later. But to start off on the subject, I see the vast majority of players not pairing their reload animation with any sort of ability or extra action. As soon as you look down at your HUD and see the number in your magazine increase, this means that you have officially reloaded and you can now do basically anything even while the visual animation is still being completed. You cannot actually fire until the animation is done, but what you can do is throw a grenade, cast a melee, swap to a different weapon, sprint, or do basically anything else you want within your loadout. Of course, this mostly matters if you're trying to optimize your damage on a boss, so just try to get in the habit of doing something as soon as the number in your magazine shows that it has been reloaded. Earlier, we mentioned how fragments and subclasses can have some useful anti-champion capabilities, but also certain perk combinations can have a similar effect. Like, for example, a Chill Clip Fusion will counter both Unstop and Overload champions, making it so that you don't need to worry about these champions within the rest of your loadout, and thus giving you a lot more flexibility. When using the Prismatic subclasses, you normally want to go for a balance of light and darkness elements, because this will help you charge up your Transcendence. Therefore, be sure to avoid loadouts that are extremely lopsided one way or the other, because then you'll find yourself with like your dark meter fully charged, but basically zero progress on your light meter. If you're not at max level and you notice that a Prime Engram has dropped, it will usually be a nice power upgrade for you. However, since the level of the engram does not change after it drops, you're definitely doing it wrong if you wait for any extended period of time before going to turn it in. You're essentially just missing out on free power levels if you continue leveling when Prime Engrams are in your inventory, so just try to turn them in as soon as you possibly can. I frequently see videos of people with old stuff in their inventory that has been deprecated and therefore no longer serves a purpose. If you are consciously deciding to hold on to certain items, that is totally cool, and I do that myself, but I feel like a lot of players simply do not know that a lot of the stuff in their inventory is no longer useful and is just taking up valuable space. For example, your mementos do not need to be...
What useless, no longer serves a purpose item do you have in your inventory? Because I know who I got. I got some things in there that special. Held a special place. Special place.
Be stored in your inventory anymore. Simply dismantle them and they will be credited and show up in your appearance screen like this. Something that is overlooked by a lot of players is the simple optimization of putting on the correct ghost mod for whatever you're doing. For example, the Wombo Detector mod will help you find chests and materials, and just look how easy it becomes for me to find all of this loot in the background gameplay. The Pale Heart chests are extremely valuable and can even drop the coveted class item exotics, so this detector mod can be insanely helpful. We previously discussed the XP mods, but there is also the economic slot and also the activity slot that have some incredible offerings. For example, Public Defender will give you more loot from public events, and the Ultimate Glimmer Booster will give you 65% more total glimmer to make you super rich. In the activity slot, there are these mods that will give you cores, prisms, upgrade modules, and even additional legendary gear from ritual activities. So definitely make sure to equip one of these next time you head into something like Crucible, Strikes, or Onslaught. Whenever an episode draws to a close, there's a lot of stuff that simply disappears and will never return if you don't claim it. For example, the Ritual Vendor Rewards and Banshee Reputation are a few things that go away every 4 months. I sometimes hear of players who are attracted by the stat bonuses provided by fragments, and they allow these stats to have a significant impact on which fragments they ultimately select. Although the stat bonuses are nice, it's far more important to prioritize the fragment synergy with your overall build. So please don't make the mistake of having tunnel vision and only caring about the stat modifiers. Various mods are color-coded within the menu, and here's a build crafting tip for you. It is often a bad idea to use the blue and yellow mods at the same time. This is because the blue mods will give you bonuses while your armor charge is active, but then the yellow ones will consume your armor charge and make them disappear, meaning that the blue ones will no longer be providing any benefit. The blue mods will also make your armor charge decay over time, so using these two mod colors at the same time tends to be the opposite of synergistic.
And what's 6 about it is, I knew everything was color coded. I didn't know that the yellow was color coded as armor charging using mods.
I know that not everybody here is a raider, but for those of you who are, you might be making the mistake of just unleashing all of your damage right away in the planets encounter in Root of Nightmares. What you actually want to do is use your primary or special to get him down to about this line right here, and then that is when you want to unleash all of your burst damage to get the most optimal damage phase. Certain activities will send in ammo crates that refill both heavy and special ammo to maximum capacity, but in order to make sure you're taking full advantage of this, be sure to spend all of your heavy before picking it up. Sometimes I see players who just instantly loot the box as soon as it spawns in, but they already have like 5 rockets, so the majority of the ammo is simply wasted. The boxes usually stick around for a while, so it's often best to just spend your ammo before picking them up.
Man,
when you're working on a quest, it tends to take a while to read where the objective is located and then open up your map and then select the planet and then figure out which landing zone it is and finally hit the launch button. It's a lot more convenient to simply inspect your quest and launch it directly from there to remove all of the steps I just mentioned in the previous sentence. In certain activities, it can be a good idea to use your super before you hit the rally flag, effectively allowing you to cast your super twice back to back. As long as you're careful to not accidentally start the activity, this can be extremely advantageous if you're using something like Well of Radiance, even if it's just for the orbs, and pre-tethering a location where the ads are going to spawn is also extremely powerful. When you're playing with random people who you've never met before, it's usually best to not refer to yourself in first person because they will have no idea who you are. If you do a call out like, I have the buff, this actually means nothing to them because they probably don't recognize your voice and therefore don't know which player actually has the buff. Who the hell is I? Therefore, simply referring to yourself with your own name tends to be much more effective. The next thing you might be doing wrong is not shooting the Void Tornadoes that are created by Tormentors. The Void Tornadoes unleash all these crazy waves that deal a ton of damage, but you can completely counter them by just shooting them and making them fly away to stop bothering you. Don't you hate those annoying Vex who put up their immunity shields to regenerate all their health? Well, it turns out there's a way to completely prevent them from ever doing this. If you hit their heads, they will lose their ability to put up a shield or heal. Instead of holding down the button to open the director, it's faster to just tap the inventory and then director button. This will open up your map or director instantly and save you a bit of extra time. If you find yourself dying, open up your map or director instantly and save you a bit of extra time. If you
There's a director button?
find yourself dying a lot to ships like Threshers or dropships, chances are you're doing something wrong. You can easily counter most ships by shooting their missiles out of the air, and you can also completely destroy the weapons on both Cabal and Fallen dropships by simply doing enough damage to them. I've seen a lot of people make mistakes when leveling crafted weapons and completing catalyst objectives. What you should be doing is playing on a hunter with the Shadowshot Deadfall super. Then simply hit one enemy with your weapon and you will cause all of the tethered enemies to die. And the best part is, every single enemy that dies will give you progress on your weapon. Even if you're not a hunter main, it's definitely worth swapping to your hunter for this strategy. Also, if you have access to it, Shuro-Chi in the Last Wish raid is still the most efficient way to farm. If you want a checkpoint, just join our Discord because we have access to bots that are constantly holding important checkpoints, including Shuro-Chi. If you're still going into your collections and individually marking stuff as seen, you're kind of doing it wrong. You can simply mark everything as seen all at once from the main collections menu. I can't believe I have to say this next one, but bank your motes in Gambit. The amount of people I see to this day who try to save up to 15 motes and then die is astounding. Please, just bank your motes, and I promise this will make your teammates love you. I see a lot of people opening up their menu, going over here, scrolling down, just to change their character or to close the game. However, it's a lot faster to just press whatever button is listed in the bottom right-hand corner of your orbit screen so that you can access this mini menu, which can do all of the same things. Something that YouTube viewers often do wrong is blindly following the loadout and weapon suggestions from content creators. At the end of the day, if you like using a certain weapon, you should just use it and nothing else matters. If it's fun for you, it does not matter if some YouTuber said that it sucks. Destiny has gone through a lot of weapon system changes over the years, so this next one is understandable, but I still see a lot of people misnaming the different weapon slots on their characters. This one is the power slot, aka the heavy slot, this is the energy slot, and this is the kinetic slot. I know we have strand and stasis weapons here now, but Bungie still calls it the kinetic slot, so I guess I'm just gonna go with that. This next mistake is very common, and it brings me an immense amount of pain every time I see someone doing this. For whatever reason, some players are extremely reluctant to use their heavy ammo and their supers. When you consider stuff like heavy ammo scouts and finders and even Aeons, you can have nearly infinite heavy ammo even in hard content like Grandmaster Nightfalls. So just use your heavy ammo. You should never be bringing your heavy or your supers back to orbit at the end of an activity. And also when it comes to supers, you are actually hurting your team if you don't cast your super to make orbs. If everyone on a team uses their
years of RPGs and inventory management games have not taught me, but have traumatized me to always save my stuff. And now I'm conditioned to only use it when I need it. Not smart.
supers regularly, everyone will get more orbs, and then everyone will be able to chain supers more often. My friend Misum at TDT has a video series that I've been featured on several times now where we review people's spicy clips. The most common critique that we've had in literally every episode is that people are always making the mistake of bunching up in PvP. There are so many different AoE abilities and supers in this game that bunching up with your team is never a good idea. But don't get me wrong, you want to play relatively near your teammates so that you can set up crossfires with them. You just don't want to be completely on top of them because then you'll both die to something like a Cloud Strike.
Searching for the best SFX for your videos? Go to artlist.io to make your videos stand out.
Where'd you
With sound
find
effects
that at?
Especially when it comes to angry people on social media, I see way too many players treating this game like it's a job, and that's definitely the wrong way to go about it. Destiny is meant to be fun, so if you're not having fun doing something in the game, just go play another activity or take a break for a few hours. This next one applies more to endgame PvE, but it might be a mistake to not take the time to learn boss health gates and what triggers the extra adds to spawn. For example, on certain bosses, they will spawn groups of enemies once they reach a certain percentage of their health, so you'll want to know this so that you don't accidentally burn them down too fast and then cause a million adds to spawn all at once and overwhelm you. This next one is really only for newer players, but if you're not using an exotic armor piece at all times, what are you doing? There is literally no reason you should ever not use an exotic. I've seen a lot of chatter about Artifice armor lately, and I think people put a bit too much importance on it. The only special thing about Artifice armor is that it gives +3 to a single stat, but honestly that doesn't matter unless the armor piece is also an incredible roll. Like a regular 68 stat armor is still going to be better than a 62 stat Artifice armor. I know this can be a tough habit to break, but you're doing it wrong if you don't properly manage your postmaster. If it's just constantly overflowing, you'll be missing out on millions of glimmer over time, and you'll probably lose some great weapon rolls that you didn't even know were there. So just clean out your postmaster every now and then, I promise it's worth your time. If you're someone who is actively making this next mistake, fixing it will completely transform what you're able to accomplish in all first-person shooters. If you run around with your crosshair aimed at the sky or the ground, or frankly anywhere that isn't on an enemy, you're definitely doing it wrong. You want to keep your crosshair where you think an enemy will soon appear, so that way you can react about a million times faster when they actually show up. This next one is practically a meme at this point, but not learning about heroic public events is a pretty big mistake. Believe it or not, 0 heroic public events are random, and they all have unique triggers that you
I wonder
should
if there's any
probably
public
learn.
events.
A really common error in all games, not just Destiny, is blaming the game for your own mistakes. Like 95% of the time you die, it's is blaming the game for your own.
Let's cut the music too. Hear this.
Greenlight exclusive. Pull up.
I mean, it's not because it's him that's saying it, but we all have been here. Listen. You listening? Listen.
Learn. A really common error in all games, not just Destiny, is blaming the game for your own mistakes. Like 95% of the time you die, it's probably your own fault, and if you consistently blame the game, you're just going to be stunting your own growth and improvement as a player. Don't get me wrong, there are some times like this example where it's not your fault and the game is just screwing you over, but most of the time, just take responsibility so that you can improve. Another weapon leveling mistake that a lot of people tend to make is forgetting that activity completions actually reward a lot of progress. Like, I know this can be a hassle, but you can save yourself a lot of time if you just swap over to your crafted weapons at the end of every activity because the progress will add up really fast over time. That way, you can spend more time gaming and less time farming.
For exotic
this
pieces.
one has practically become an inside joke with the community at this point, but many players make the mistake of not passing the ball to a teammate in the Corrupted Strike. Passing the ball makes it much more powerful, so you should definitely do this. There's this really handy way of learning all this information about your gear that I don't see most people using.
The compendium?
Instead of inspecting an item and manually going over to all of its perks, you can instead reveal all of this awesome information all in one place by just holding down the left trigger on console or E on PC. I promise this is not your English class, but I always see people spelling a few Destiny words incorrectly, like roll instead of roll, peek instead of peek, and Nezarec instead of Nezarec. In almost every game that I play, I constantly see players on my team making tons of unnecessary noise in PvP. Like if you're just jumping, shooting, and using your abilities for no reason, you're just telegraphing your position to the entire enemy team and asking for them to come gang up on you. This next one might be a little bit depressing, but honestly, I think it is a mistake to expect Destiny PvP to be balanced. In the long history of this game's PvP, it has never been truly 100% balanced. Once you accept that Crucible is a wild space magic simulator where winning doesn't really matter, it becomes a whole lot more fun. And that's another mistake that people make. People take 6v6 modes way too seriously. It's a casual playlist, so just play for fun and nothing else really matters. When the opposing team summons a Primeval in Gambit, the game opens up an invasion portal. However, if you invade right away, you're absolutely doing it wrong. Instead of rushing in there the second that it opens, wait for a bit until your opponents have done some damage to their Primeval. That way, when you do invade and take out some players, it will heal the Primeval and set their team back in a meaningful way. The next thing you might be doing wrong is looking up your PvP opponents before you play them. Please don't do this. It will really just lead to you being intimidated by...
All right. Listen, look where we're at. If you include the first stream, we've been stuck here for over an hour. So, listen, it's a dub. It's a dub. Hey, look at Ben Fenner. Shout out to Ben Fenner. How you doing, Ben? How you been? You been good? You been maintaining the gun waving. Oh man, we supposed to be out here. We supposed to be out here celebrating the reset, and we haven't even been able to get on. Like, it's just trash. It's absolutely abysmal. It's mind-numbing. And I get it. Like, things happen. You can't have a popular game and think that you can always access it, but still, like, your boy trying to play. I'm like, how am I supposed? I do a whole thing called Reset Tuesday. If you ain't seen it, here it is. It's Reset Tuesday. It's Reset Tuesday. Come and playing, 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 come and play some Destiny with It's Reset Tuesday. Why don't you come and play Destiny? Come and playing, come and playing, come and playing, come and playing, come and play, come and play, come and play Destiny with me. All this Tuesday. I love that for you, Ben. I love that for you. Listen. Damn, Ben, we ain't speaking a minute, right? We ain't speaking a while. Obviously, that's all my fault. You know, something happened during, and I'm not going to say post because, once again, it's not over with. But something happened during the pandemic where I think a lot of us got instant reminders on what's important. What the main, we remembered what the main focus was. Where some of us not only was being, we were being reminded. Like, some of us were being reminded, some of us were being informed of the first time. Like, the first time. Some have never lived a life where they knew what the plot was, and this is how they got introduced to it. So it don't matter how you came back to the main focus, but the focus is the focus, and the focus is the focus for the reason, right? And that is the job, the money, the status, the title, all that don't mean nothing if you hate your life. Period. And I think a lot of us got a refocusing of priorities when you see hundreds of thousands of people die, hundreds of thousands of people get sick. It does something, and then you add on everything else that's going on in this world. You know, it's a So it's a very humbling experience. Shout out to those that are still around. Rest in peace to those that aren't. But yeah, I had an awakening my own of just, you know, taking a step back from what it is that was driving me and my motivations, and kind of, you know, reanalyzing things and realizing that, hey, if I'm not in a situation where I can be the best version of me, then those around me can't get the best version of me. And if I truly care about them and care for them, then they should want, and I should be attempting to give them the best version of me. So, you know, I'm happy for you. I'm happy for you. Hopefully, when you eventually decide to, or when life eventually decides to throw some more work at you in a way that lines up with what you need, you find something that makes you happy, you find something that you love, and you know, you can maintain that positive equilibrium. You know, yeah, man, the housework, the house. Oof. The last time I spoke to you, I was renting. Since then, was able to purchase a house when the interest rates took a little bit of a dip. And man, all the reasons why I didn't want to own a home are making themselves very apparent. Let's just say that. Not in a I'm saying it in a I'm happy to have these problems type of way. I see, you know, it's, you know, them things where it's like I wasn't aware these were issues until these issues became issues that could be possibly my issues. I would always hear about people complaining about their house, but I was like, that's what you give having a house. You know, that's on you. But now that I own a house, or, you know, working towards owning the house, the constant jobs and the constant time spent on that house, on said house, is just, man, motherfuckers don't warn you about it. They do not warn, and they warn you, but they don't warn you. I think the only thing that's considerably, like, even the warnings don't line up with what it feels like is having a child. Like, you know, you get parents that tell you all the time, like, hey, be careful, you know, having a child comes with its own set of issues, and you're like, I got it, or no, they told me about X, Y, and Z, or they warned me about how many diapers I'm gonna be going through, whatever. And then you have a baby and you're like, damn, why no one ain't tell me this? And it's like, well, they did. You just didn't understand. Like, you didn't have no frame of reference. Yeah, that's like owning a house. It's, whether it's things that you enjoy, right? Like, I was always anti-yard work, and since late teens, I always suffered from like ridiculously annoying hay fever, seasonal allergies. So the concept of wanting to be out in the wild on purpose, kids are obliterating my, yeah. They're like, just to get the kids to exist, just to get the kids to a place where you can maintain some base level of existing in a way that isn't detrimental, is an accomplishment. right? Like you're never in a net positive with a kid. It's just like, how close to that 0 can I get? And it's you know, it's definitely rewarding, just like owning a home. All right, after you cut that lawn and you edge it up and you know, wash them windows and you get a problem that was stressing you fixed, and you get that leak fixed, you get that water out your basement. There's that like little like beautiful, there's that little window of for those who work 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. It's that Friday at 5:01 where you are currently at the longest possible time before you have to go back to work. But at the same time, that window is so, it's like what's the thing called on the horizon? The horizon point? No, whatever the thing is around when you have an eclipse. It's like, as joyous as it is, because it's the start of the longest time before you got to be back at work, it's also a flare that starts the clock of when you gotta be back to work. So it's like the day before vacation ends. You know, it's kind of like one of the things where it's like it's impossible to enjoy this day right now because I know what tomorrow is. That's exactly kind of how I feel when it comes to kids at times, where it's like you're just kind of in between things and you're just kind of waiting for the next thing, and you're constantly at a heightened level of anxiety because you want to be prepared, and to be prepared you got to be on guard. But it's all worth it. It's all worth it because when the children are childrening in a positive manner and everyone's healthy and everything's good, something like that. I don't know what I was talking about. I was talking about Event Horizon. That's what I was talking about. Event Horizon is an event. Horizon is a boundary beyond which events cannot affect an observer. That's the word I wanted, but that ain't what I needed to say. That wasn't it. But yeah, so it's like, it's one of them things where, you know, you enjoy the calm. You enjoy the calm because you know it ain't ebbs and flows, right? Ebbs and flows. You know life is gonna always be like this. Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it's like this. But you know it's always gonna be like this. And you're just trying to, you know, chill there. Yeah, be quiet, Ben. Shut up. It sounded better though. But yeah, so I'm glad that everything's going good with you. I'm glad that everything's on an up and up. And yeah. But I'm about to hop off. Like I said, I'm supposed to be playing Destiny. Destiny ain't working, so I'm not about to keep trying. On the flip side, I will be. I'm hoping 10 years from now I'll have some sleep and the kids can be on autopilot. How old are they? Speaking of kids, what's up? You're leaving right now? Why are you leaving right now? Okay. All right, Ben, I'll holla at you. Everybody else that came through, appreciate y'all. Dipset Bird Gang. I'll catch you on the flip side. Yeah.